All right, everyone. Welcome to the Red Plates podcast. This is going to be episode 7, and today we have a very special guest, the 74 kg Canadian Goblin himself, Blake Barrett. So welcome
Thank you,
on,
thank you.
Blake. I think the plan today was to start. We're going to have a little bit more of a structure going into this podcast. So we're planning to talk about your prep going into Centrals, the battle with Luke Homer and everything like that, how things were structured with the CPU, kind of watching Connor Lutz compete at Westerns. So why don't we start there? I guess you can introduce yourself, I guess, and tell the listeners a little bit about yourself.
Sure. My name is Blake Barrett. I'm from Toronto, Ontario. I'm currently in law school in New York. I'm entering my third and last year. I have been competing in powerlifting since 2014. I have done maybe 20 or so competitions. And in 2019, I won my first nationals and which punched my ticket to Worlds in Helsingborg, Sweden. In 2022, I was selected to represent Canada again in Sun City. And this past year, I won the regional qualifier at Centrals again punch my ticket to Worlds in Lithuania.
So a seasoned veteran. So why don't we get into your Centrals prep, I guess, so you can kind of tell us a little bit about that, and also like why that was significant coming off of like the previous nationals as well. So why don't we start with your Centrals prep, how that went, kind of leading into that meet, and go from there.
Yeah, and talk a little bit about who you were going head to head with and your thoughts.
Sure.
Yeah.
Sure. So before we can get to the Centrals competition, we have to kind of rewind it back to Nationals 2023. I remember the prep for Nationals 2020. Oh, we all know where this is going. I remember the prep for Nationals 2023. I was looking very strong. I was hitting PRs. I was gaining a lot of momentum. And it was kind of a newfound pressure at that time because back, like I mentioned, when I won in 2019, I was really the underdog at the time. I think Lon Ray, he was favored to win then. Christian Ibanez, he was favored to win. And I was kind of like the afterthought. And so I felt I was just coming into that and no one expected me to do anything. And I won. Then next year, I tore my groin, my first torn groin, in the prep for Nationals 2020. And then obviously Worlds was canceled, so that didn't happen in 2020. At 2021, I didn't apply because I was still injured. And so in 2022, they did a selection via who had the highest qualifying total, and I got in on an alternate spot. I think it was the second or first alternate. I remember. But going into 2023, at the time I was the favorite. I was the one to beat, and that was like a newfound pressure. And we all know what happened that day. I tore my other groin, which was on it, and we've all seen the video, and it sucked. But coming off that, that it's my second torn groin, I really didn't phase me. I was excited and ready to just I was ready to start reloading, get back into it. And I knew the road ahead and what it entailed because I've already torn my groin and the rehab was exactly the same. So after that, it took me about 6 months to get back to fully low bar squatting into the 500s again, give or take. I think I was squatting that in July 2023. And then I signed up. At the time, the CPU was in the midst of changing their nationals qualifier. So I remember I was back home and Kyle said to me, "Hey, are you doing Easterns?" I'm like, "Why would I be doing Easterns? I'm 2 weeks out from having low bar squats back. I'm barely recovered." He's like, "Oh, this is the last chance to qualify because that's the only regional competition." So I'm like, "Oh shit, like I got to do this now." And with like 8 weeks or 10 weeks of prep, just coming off a torn groin. And I lost that competition. Justin, I forgot his last name, but Justin, very nice guy. He pulled for the win, and he beat me. But after that, it was just full steam ahead. I was fully recovered, ready to just give it up for my all for the next regionals that was happening in 2024 for Centrals. And we knew that we were coming up against a really tough competition. Luke Homer, he's been in the sport just as long as me. He's been to Worlds as a 66. He's very strong as an equipped lifter and as a raw lifter. I'm not sure which is more impressive, his raw strength or equipped strength. They're both insane. And he is the type of lifter who has insane gym numbers. He's kind of like me. I've had my struggles in competition, but he's pulled like 325 in training, like 285 squat, like some really ridiculous a gym number. So going into 2024 Centrals, I didn't really feel like I was the one to beat anymore. Like I felt for 2023, and I'm not sure if that kind of relieved the pressure a bit. It didn't feel good not to be the strongest, like to be looked at as one of the strongest. But I knew, and I remember saying this to my parents at the time, that he may be physically stronger than me, but I trust in my ability to execute twofold more than his. So that's what it came to on the day. Because I remember we were both 6 for 6 going into um, deadlifts, and me knowing like, hey, he has like maybe a 320 pull, 315 give or take on him. And I remember going up to Kyle because you competed with me. No, you were handling at that meet. Yeah, yeah. And I remember going up to Kyle like as we were going out for deadlifts, like, he'll probably beat me.
Yeah, I think
I'll total
I
mid.
don't know if I'm gonna win. I was like, what? Like,
I said, yeah, I'm like, okay, I'm lead. I think he was leading me at the time by like 7.5 kilos or 8 kilos because he had the chip from the squat national record. And I remember going up to Kyle and be like, yeah, he's probably going to beat me. I'll total maybe in the 740s, and I'll be happy with that. And maybe I'll get an alternate spot or whatever the chance, whatever it may be. And then his second pull came, and I'm sure he would agree with me. He shit the bed. He was like, bad. It was rough. It was like a 10. It was like not a good attempt. I remember after that happened,
I remember
went up to
watching that
Kyle.
pull. I was like running back and forth. I ran to the front, watched him pull, and it was slow. And like, I knew
Yeah, it was
you were
bad.
not on his tails. I like ran to the back, but obviously you were in the zone at that point, so I like didn't want to mess with
And
you.
I remember going. I think I remember going up to you. I said it to my handler Matt Goldsmith, and I'm like, I'm gonna win. I remember saying that at that point. As soon as that second pull, he had that hiccup. I knew I was gonna win,
'Cause what did
and
you
I
have to
pulled for the win.
pull?
Pardon?
What did you have to pull for the win at that point?
So he loaded 305 and he missed it. I think his thumbs exploded, and
I think he
he
got
at
305 on the second, but
No, I
we
think
knew
it
he
was
didn't have
300.
much. Was it? Okay, I was
so
300.
I remember he opened like 285 and they jumped to 300 for a second. That was bad.
Yeah. Okay.
And he jumped 305 for his third. And I think me and Goldsmith we had the conversation. I think we put in like 312 or 315 just as like a placeholder, like because if he hit 305, I would have had to pull 312 for the win. But he missed 305, so we lowered to 307, and I pulled that for the win to beat him. I think by 1.5 kilos or 2 kilos.
Damn.
Yeah, it was it was good times.
Yeah, dude, that was for. I remember that was an awesome moment because I remember watching that 300 and I was like, holy shit, Blake can do this. Because like you were saying, like Luke was looking super strong going into that meet, and I think everyone knew it was going to be you two, kind of like battling it out. And going into the pulls, like you said, he had pulled like 320 in training, I think multiple times. So we were like, oh shit, here we go. Yeah, we all know how it played out. So how did you feel like throughout that prep? Like how was training going into that prep? You said you didn't feel like you were the one to beat, but I think you obviously had pretty good training for 745, right?
Yeah, I was gaining momentum. I was getting strong momentum. I think that prep was the strongest I've ever been. Simply by gym numbers, I think I maybe put up at 755 total in a week because I don't really get SBD days. I squatted 280 in the gym. I benched 172 and a half, and I deadlifted 305. I think something around those lines. And but on the tail half of the prep, it wasn't going that well. I was like maybe I remember I hit like a pretty bad 270. I think it was my heaviest squat, like a meh 170 bench. And deadlifts was always my bread and butter, so that always shows up.
Yeah, you pulled like 305 again in the gym or something around there before the competition.
Yeah, it's funny. 307 is still the most I've ever pulled in the gym and in comp because I think with the groin tear, that's the lift that really took the longest to come back from. Because in prep before the groin tear, I pulled like 295 for 292 for four, which I recently just beat for the first time, my first deadlift PR in like a year and a half. And it was only 5 pounds, and it was great. And
really happy with
yeah, yeah.
I think so.
And then the groin tear happened, and the deadlift took the longest to recover.
Yeah, even like mentally, 'cause was that when you first tore it? Was it because of deadlifts as well? Like I know.
Yeah, I tore it on my second pull, and then when I first competed at the first regionals in September of 2023, all I remember going out for pulls was just dread. Just please don't tear. Please don't. That's all I remember. I'm just like, oh my god, I'm so lucky my groin didn't tear this time.
Yeah.
I still get that feeling. Like I still, even in competitions, even at centrals, even at worlds, I'm like, okay, please don't tear.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's
Even like
sad.
squats though, because like at least deadlift, for example, if you do end up hurting yourself, like the weight's on the floor, like you know what I mean. Versus like in a squat, like how confident were you like descending into the hole of a squat? Like 280, by far the biggest squat you've done. Like not that long after tearing your groin, right? So like, what was it like working up to that?
It's honestly, I think a lot of people who have suffered very acute injuries like the groin tear was, because in powerlifting, there's obviously the type of injuries where it accrues over a long period of times, and like one day, your back's just messed up, or your leg is just messed up, or your pec is just messed up. And then there's like the acute, sudden ones with like, oh, you feel a sudden pop, or your elbow snaps, or whatever it may be. I think with the acute ones, it comes with a more heightened sense of fear and mental. What's the term? Like, trying to think of the term. Like, just
Like hesitancy.
I'm blanking on the term. Yeah, mental hesitancy of doing that lift. So obviously, when I tore it on my groin, that was the lift that was going to give me the biggest um, mental struggles as well as physical struggles. So squatting really wasn't a problem. And I remember in the recovery, I was faster to recover on deadlifts than I was for squats. But squats, I never was scared to do. But deadlifts, I'm like, every time I went to the gym for like the 6, 7 months of recovery, I'm like, oh my God, today I might tear it again. Like,
Wow. So
yeah.
very closely linked to deadlift then because I remember when you squatted that 280, I thought it was like a huge deal. I was like, holy shit, especially the way you squat is like quite a wide stance, right? So it's like
Yeah.
descending into the hole, a lot of pressure on the adductor, but like that's
Yeah.
phenomenal. So
Yeah, I say it all the time. I have indestructible adductors because I've torn both groins. That's why.
You're like Deadpool.
Yeah.
I was gonna say too, because you did that. We want to touch back on the adductors or like the groin stuff later when we have like a few questions for you. But after you hit your big total and you beat Luke, then just because you couldn't have done westerns, I think was the situation, like the flights and all that, and it is far. But then you had to watch. It was like tons of people, wasn't it? It was like Lonray and a few others all going to try and hit your total to get their spot. Like, how was watching that? Because we asked Calf when he was on the podcast because he did the same thing. But how did it feel for you?
So, to be quite honest, and I don't mean this in a rude way towards Lonray. I don't. And he's probably going to clip this and use as fuel. I never really saw Lonray as like a real threat. Like, yeah, he has a crazy squat, and it's only going to get stronger. However, doing the calculations, I knew he needed to squat like almost 300, bench almost like 145, and deadlift almost 300 to even match what I had done.
Yeah.
So I wasn't really worried. The only person I was really worried about was Connor Lutz.
Yeah.
I'm sure we all know the story about Connor Lutz. He's one of my idols. I grew up through powerlifting. I remember running his intermediate program in like 2014 or 2013 several times. And he had the perfect day up until the end. Like I was watching that, I went to my brother's place, who lives just in Jersey City, right across New York from me, and I was shitting my pants. I was so nervous. I was so scared. I just remember like just pit in my stomach. Just I couldn't function because seeing him just build that total attempt after attempt, like absolute mastery execution. Each attempt, I'm just like shit, shit, shit. And then and then when he failed his third pole, he just failed it. There's a video of me. I took it. My sister-in-law took a video of me reacting to winning, and in that moment, I actually felt like I won again because I won Centrals, and I really punched my ticket to Worlds. So it kind of felt like a new, like a really like a celebration needs to be happened all over again.
Yeah.
So it was really, it was a
video. It just looked like more like a sigh of relief. You were like,
even
chair, like,
even thinking about it now, I'm just like, oh.
Yeah.
That's so funny. Yeah, because Connor is like a big threat. Like you said, you've been lifting since 2014. Like when did you know like when Connor started?
I want to say because I remember watching him in his one of his first worlds in 2014, which was in South Africa. It was in a different city. I forgot. Yeah, yeah. I remember I watched. He was an 83 back then, and the 74 representative was Josh Hancock. He been like one of the best 74s in Canada for a very long time. And I remember watching him then, and he still holds the national record bench. He just bumped it up by 1 kilo. And I remember beating, when was it? Yeah, it was Worlds 2022 when I beat his national record. And I didn't realize I did that until after the competition. And it took like a couple of weeks for me to actually realize how big of a deal that I beat one of my idols. Like people don't really get to say that. Like you grow up watching and rooting for and following someone throughout their entire journey for 8 years, whatever it may be, and you beat them. So not a lot of people can say they did that, and I can say that, which is pretty cool.
Yeah, that is very cool. Yeah, because I remember too, like watching, like whenever you post them, the videos of like little Blake in the gym, like back in like 2013 or 2014, just going
Yeah.
crazy, and it is wild, guys. Like if you're listening, you should go definitely follow Blake, and Blake will have to post it again.
If you scroll back far enough, you'll see some awful stuff.
Yeah, it's good. Yeah, and then, like even like your first meet, like what did you were not you're not anywhere near where you are at today. So for that, you to make that transformation is crazy.
Yeah, my first meet, I remember the date. It was the Last Chance Open, November 16th, 2014. It was in Hamilton. And I squatted 165. I benched 80 kilos and I deadlifted 185. I think I had a 330 Wilks, 335, something like that.
Everyone listening, just take that in. Like what Blake just said is crazy. Like those numbers.
And people don't even know. People are like so new; they don't even know what Wilks is, which is crazy.
Another thing that's cool though too is like, so 2014 your first meet. 2014 you said Connor Lutz was at Worlds competing in South Africa, and then it just brings us full circle. It also shows how long he's actually been in the sport as like a veteran of the sport. Not a lot of people like last that long at such a high level. So
yeah, he's still so good that he might just come and like beat you at. He's doing that, right?
Yeah, he's competing in 5 or 6 days at NAPF. So he's doing that, and then he has a short 4-week turnaround to nationals where he has to beat me.
Okay.
Yeah.
So before we move on to nationals, do you want to go over like your Worlds prep and talk about how that went and like the game day and everything at this Worlds?
Sure. Yeah. Prep was awful. Prep was probably the worst prep I've ever had in any prep for competition in my entire tenure. Since December 2023, I have had near debilitating knee pain in my right knee. Every set of squat hurt. Sometimes deadlift would hurt. It depends on the day. And I was squatting somewhat big weights, like just pushing through the pain. I think I was squatting like 260 here and there, 265 here and there. But every set was just excruciating pain. And then that went away, thankfully. And then 2 weeks out, I hurt my pec, and it was devastating. Like I couldn't bench. I could barely bench the bar. I couldn't do a bodyweight push up actually, and it was like that for a week. And Sean was on vacation. Sean, my coach, he was on vacation at the time, so I couldn't really contact him. So I had Marcellus, Luke's coach. He was going to help me with like the gut cut process and to make way for Worlds. And as soon as the pec injury happened, I kind of leaned on him more so for mental support rather than actual physical support. And then I contacted Adam Jansen, and he got me in touch with one of his PT friends. I have to look up his name for a second because I actually want to give him my dues. The PT guy. 1 second.
I want to say it's Ron, right?
Brian. What's his name? Do you guys know what I'm talking about? Oh, it's this guy.
Fit like Ron or something. Ron.
Is that the one that everybody in Ottawa?
Oh, here we go. Yeah, Dr. Ronnie. I'm not trying to pronounce his last name, but Dr. Ronnie. Adam got me on a call with Dr. Ronnie, and we discussed it, and they both gave me some good insight into why it may be happening and some like helpful cues that might alleviate the pec pain. And I went in the next day, and immediately the pain was from a 8 out of 10 to where the pec felt like it was just going to explode to like a 4 out of 10 where it was like, it hurt, but I could bench 90 kilos the first day. And then the next day I could bench 100. Yeah, and the next day I benched 120. And then it just kept on compounding and compounding. And on the meet day, I had a hiccup on my second bench where my butt came off. But I think I maybe could have benched 167, 165 on that day. Even on that day, my pec was in pretty good amount of pain, but I could have pushed through it.
So how did that initially happen? Was it like an acute, like you just felt your pec strain kind of thing, or was it a buildup of the prep?
It was a buildup over time. I was having some minor pec pain here and there, and I just ignored it because 3 weeks out, I'm obviously going to get pec pain or pain in my body. And I remember the fastest 165 I have of the entire prep. And then I came in on the Monday for just some primer singles with like 150 kilos. And I remember hit it the first one, and it was like, I'm like, ow, that hurts. I'm not like that hurts a lot. And then I did it for a second one. I'm like, oh shit, I can't bench. And then I tried it for the third, and I just unracked it and then just put it back. And that was it. And then I did bench for an entire week. I couldn't do a push up, couldn't do the bar, couldn't board press, couldn't do a dip, couldn't do anything for that whole week. And it was rough. After all the hard work I put in to just get derailed at the last moment, where like I was in talks to maybe place in top 7. And what can you do? It was the cards I was dealt, and all I could have done.
So what did they do to help you? It's obviously it was programming, just like progressively getting back into bench, but did you make some kind of like technique adjustments and stuff like that to make benching more pain-free?
The only 2 things that I think really helped was a difference in where I was focusing the pressure in my hands. I was squeezing with different fingers differently than I was, and actually just keeping the bar looser in my palm instead of like having to like over grip it, and that alleviated the pain almost immediately.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's awesome. So you're able to kind of pretty much recuperate that. So what did you end up with on the day? You said 160?
160, yeah. Because I had to retake my second because my butt came off.
Yeah. So it's not super far off like what you've mentioned in the past. I know at Centrals you had like the really big bench, but you also had the fat pad. So that, and then at Worlds, like on the Elite, on the Elico bench, it's not super far off. Like I think where your bench is.
I think on that day I probably could have benched 167 had I gone my second.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Your best is like 172.
In the gym, so soft touch is 180, but sinking it's 170. So with elbow depth it's 172.
So that's not too terribly often. That's pretty crazy if you were that banged up 2 weeks out.
Yeah.
That's a pretty quick turn.
I remember just being like, okay, I probably won't even get top 15 with a 110 kilo bench because that's what I could barely do.
Drop way down.
Yeah, it's not a bad result considering all that was going on, right? So, and then how was like squat and deadlift going into this meet?
Squats were really good until the jury decided to hate me and take away my third. I'm sure we all watch Worlds. We all despise how much the jury gets involved. But I think for me, it was especially shitty because I got two whites from the side and a red from the front. I'm like, if two of the side judges, where you have a clearer view of depth, can see depth, what are you doing? Overturning it for depth? Like, what are you doing? And then Delis was just an absolute disaster. So I think for the longest time, I grip fully on the smooth when I pull. It's I think I was like a finger or two in when I deadlifted, and Delis was super strong like that. No problems locking out, never a problem with grip. And I came out for my opener pull after telling them to brush down the bar, and they're on the Lico sticker, which is the only bar in powerlifting that uses a sticker on their on the smooth for some reason. I have no idea why. They've had that for like 10 years. There's baby powder in the sticker. So I went to go pull.
Isn't that national? So just so you know,
Pardon?
the Hansu bar also has the same sticker now.
It's smaller. It's closer to the center knurling.
Okay.
Yeah. So there was baby powder in the sticker, and I just had no traction, and I just couldn't pull it. So retook it, and obviously I just moved my grip out, and I smoked it. And then I remember coming off the platform and looking at Garrett Bentley, my handler, and just like, what do we do? Like, what now? Just like laughing. And there's a video of me laughing, like, oh, I don't know what to do. So at that time, we were like, okay, top end strength maybe was like around 310, give or take. But we want to get into the top 10, so we needed 302 for that. So that's what we loaded.
So I know you've competed at Worlds. This is your third time now, Blake?
This is my fourth international, my third Worlds. Yeah, I did NAPF in 2021.
Okay, but so I feel this time though, in the 74 class especially, was very stacked. Like, how did it feel to be out there with those guys like Perk and Kajal and Tim?
It's honestly on the day I didn't really have any time to take it in because I'm not sure if anyone's like any of the other lifters have mentioned how fast the primetime A session was. It was almost unbearably fast. I would take a squat, go to the room and sit down, and Garrett would come to me and be like, okay, you're 5 out. I'm like, what are you talking about? I just sat down. Like, and then as soon as I finished squatting, I went to go to the back room to like replenish some like liquids and whatever. He's like, okay, take the bar. I'm like, what do you mean? I just finished squatting. He's like, yeah, you have to, it's going. I'm like, okay. So on the day, I didn't really have any time to take it in, let alone watch. I had no idea what Perk was squatting, no idea what Shell was squatting. Like not that I didn't care, it's just I didn't have time to look at them. But afterwards, after the disappointment set in and me feeling like a little failure, I got to look back at it, and it's pretty cool. Like coming up with an awful prep, both knees are banged up. My pec is a bum pec where 2 weeks ago I couldn't do a push-up, and I got 10th. It's okay, but I can't convince myself that I was happy about it. And just being able to be on the platform with all those other guys who I know for a fact that have gone through some serious injuries. I know Perk he had a medical condition. I forgot what it was, where he had I think appendicitis or something terrible, and that everyone was saying at the time it was maybe like 3 years ago, and he's done. So I think it's not only awesome to be in the room with so many people who are super strong, and I've been doing this for just as long as I have, but I've also have gone through similar injuries and setbacks like me. So there's a serious respect in that room. Like no one we're all friends. Like I talk to a lot of them almost a couple times a week, and I send them memes. They respond to my story. Like we all talk. We're all buddies.
Did you stick around much after Worlds, or did you travel, or?
It's funny. So my parents, they come to every competition. They're my biggest supporter. So whenever they come, it's always a treat. Um, and they came with me to Lithuania, and the plan was to go to. So it was in. I still can't pronounce it. Drunskinekai or wherever. I don't even know. It was there, which is about an hour, 40-minute drive from Vilnius, which is the capital. So originally, what the plan was is I competed on the Monday. I was going to stay and watch the Tuesday, and we're going to leave on the Wednesday, and we're going to go touring in Vilnius and just go see sights and blah blah blah. But I didn't want to leave, and like I'm like my parents on Wednesday. Hey, I don't want to leave, and they're like, okay, you could stay. So I crashed at my friend Sarah's Airbnb. I stayed for another few days, and on Wednesday, I ended up going to Vilnius with a bunch of friends, Christina, and Sydney, and we just toured around, had some coffee, ate some burgers, and then we came back and we watched. On the Tuesday was the 83, so that was the day before, which was if you weren't there to witness it, you don't. I can't explain it. Like we've all seen the videos of Jurgens winning. The energy in that room was it's I can't describe it. It was insane. And then we came back and watched the 93s, which was amazing. And then I had to leave on the Friday. I didn't get to watch the 105s and everyone else.
You missed your buddy Eric.
I miss my buddy Eric, my best friend, and I miss watching Walter. And yeah.
And Lucas and everyone else. But that's okay. I mean, it's cool that you stayed because I bet you like it was definitely worth it. Like the Tuesday session, I can't imagine like how it felt in that room. Like the room is like full of goosebumps. It's just like
yeah. When Jared's just the crowd, we're all we're all freaking out. We're all freaking out.
That was crazy.
That was definitely a big moment. Like we've always talked about like Hack versus Gibbs, but that was years ago. Like I feel like this is the.
I remember watching in what was it, 2016 in Killeen, Texas, Hack versus Gibbs. I remember watching that. Yeah. This was better. I'm like telling you right now, this was 10 times better. Like not only because with the Hack versus Gibbs thing, they were brought up to be like Gibbs. Like people who don't know, he was the untouchable 83 for such a long time. Like no one could beat him. It was very tough to get him. I think the only time he did get beat, I could be wrong about this. The guy who beat him failed a drug test, so they gave it to Gibbs. Yeah, I think some Brazil guy. I forget. And so, but they were brought up as equals. Like, okay, here's Hack, new guy on the circuit. Like, I think it was his first international competition, but like here, he's very strong. And then there's Gibbs, who's the king. But they were hyped up as like it's going to be a big battle. There was no hype up for the battle between Jurgens and Enna and Russ. Like Russ was coming off his 860 total. Like he had so much momentum going in with all his gym lifts and everything, and he was everyone. I remember. I didn't watch the preview show, but I saw clips of the King of Lift preview show, and no one mentioned Jurgens. Like not even like a single word about him. And then we were coming on to squats, and I was looking at the scoreboard over there. I'm looking at the subtotal. I'm like it's possible that Jurgens could maybe pull within like 5 kilos of him. Like that's the way it was going out. And then he ended up pulling 350 for the win. And it was it's amazing.
And it was easy. Like he had room in the tank. Yeah, it's pretty insane. I remember, I think SPD or someone posted where they got like a poll of like who was going to win. It was like Russ was 91% chance.
Yeah. I think I remember the funniest thing was what I think it was White Lights Media and SPD and King of the List were doing is that after each primetime session, they would get the people who won together and they would like talk it through and have like a mini little podcast. And in like the hype up for the 83s for that podcast session, they posted a graphic of only Russ.
No.
And then they had to take it down, and then they added like another one of like Russ and Jurgens. I thought that was really funny.
That's great. Yeah, because that was just on the deadlift. That was like a 20-kilo deadlift bar, wasn't it?
Yeah. I think Jurgens hadn't pulled over 325 or 322 in the.
I got to be honest, until Worlds, I had no idea who Jurgens was.
Really? You didn't know who he was?
Nope. I probably have seen him maybe repost on King Lifts like a couple times, but like.
Well, 2023 he did. He came like. Not that he didn't do well, but he was.
Yeah, the previous Worlds he was coming in as also a front runner because he had like an 825 total, and he was against Delaney, who had Delaney had totaled something big at the previous Sheffield, but not at Worlds yet. So they were like pretty close. So he's been in the mix, but he hasn't really been able to like put it together. And this was like a huge like.
Yeah.
So
I think he told like he placed like 13th at one Worlds or something like a while ago.
Yeah, he was saying that like I don't know exactly like what the whole circumstance was, but he was watching like Brett and Russ. I think he was there for that one, and then he was like just way back watching it happen, and then like 6 years later, he's actually winning and beating Russ, which is crazy.
It's funny you mentioned that because a couple weeks ago, I'm not sure if anyone else remembers this, but the bench battle between the 105s in Calgary 2018, where they chipped and chipped and chipped. That was I think it was Bryce Lewis, Garrett Blevins, and the Irish guy Gary Pinge. I can't pronounce his last name.
Ellis McLean.
Pardon?
Ellis McLean.
No, that was the 93s. Ellis was the 93, but the 105 bench battle was like, I think it was like 221, 221.5, and then 222. And Jurgens was in the crowd. I saw like they pan to him, like, oh, he's Jurgens.
Yeah, I know the photo you're referring to, Luke, because like so it's 2018 Calgary. You see like Russ on the podium. I think that's when he came second to Brett. And you can see Jurgens like in the background at the award ceremony.
Yeah.
Yeah, he spoke on it on a podcast recently. I think he was just saying that he remembered that, and he was like, "One day I'm going to be up there." And then it's just crazy.
Yeah. Me too.
Yeah.
Me too.
Older too, like 36.
Yeah, Jurgens is 35, 36, and has like and
just wait till 2028 when Blake beats Perkins.
Yeah,
I can't wait. Easy W.
Blake, if the same progress over the past like 10 years into the next, I know it would be totally like the grand.
Yeah, if you can put another.
That was man.
You can do it.
I'm gonna be the
part of like the questions that we have is like, I'll just do this one I guess right now is like, Blake, how did you do this entire like 10-year stretch and not gain any weight, just maintain?
Honestly, I don't really know. I remember I don't know. I competed as a 74 at my first meet. I think I weighed in the 67s, and then my next meet was in 2016. And I was like because like puberty at the time, because I was like about 2014 I was 16 or 15 years old, and then 2016 I was like just turned 18 or almost 19 or whatever it was. And so like I was just so during that period from like 2014 to 2016 I went through puberty. I didn't gain that much weight. I sure as hell didn't get any taller. Like I maybe gained like an inch or two. And my body just stayed in and around the same. And it's funny you bring up the weight or the lack thereof of weight gain. I remember the first time I really had problems with my weight was in 2017 Nationals in Saguenay, Quebec. I got fat. I think I got up to like 79 kilos. And I'm like to my coach, like, hey, Sean, like I fucked up. Like this is bad. I can't do 74. He's like, okay, that's fine. You'll just do 83. And I don't even know how I've been able to maintain this body weight and just
cutting to 74 since 2017.
I have been cutting to 74 since 2017. That is correct.
That's longer than like 90% of the CPUs you're going to compete.
Yeah.
I know.
You obviously like improved your body composition at 74. Like,
I think that's the biggest one because I'm sure we all know who, and people who have known me long enough. There's a reason why Kyle introduced me as a goblin, is because I was really not. And there's also a reason why it's in my bio and still is in my bio. It's like I don't look like what I can lift, what I can lift. Like I don't.
No.
Like if you see me in person, I look better now. But if you knew me back then, you see this little scrawny kid. How is this thing deadlifting 265 kilos at 77 kilo body weight? And I don't
600 pounds. You don't look like you lift.
I know. I know.
Bro,
And
this one's the craziest because, like, I remember maybe a few years ago when you were just lifting at that random gym in New York, like a commercial gym. I'm like, imagine like Blake just walking around. He just starts benching 315 for reps, and you're just there like you're like one of the few people at the. It was a small gym, I think, and it's like,
yeah.
like what is wrong with this guy?
Literally, people will just watch me and like, oh, God, just like casual 280 for 8, just whatever. Yeah,
So, like, what was your total when you started? Do you remember?
I have mentioned before 2014. Let me just do the calculations because remember my numbers of good memory. 65 plus 80. 185. 430. Yeah, 430 in 2014. Yeah.
So, like, 320 kilos on your total?
315, yeah.
That's got to be some kind of record.
and the same weight class.
Yeah, he gained 7 kilos over a period of 20 years. No.
That's crazy.
Yeah, that's crazy too because you just called 79 kilos as fat, Blake.
Yeah, I kind of took offense to that, to be honest.
Yeah.
Well, for me, like I remember one time I got back from a trip, summer trip where I didn't live for 3 weeks, and I got back, I saw 80 kilos on the scale. I'm like, oh my, I almost threw up. Like, oh my god, disgusting. I'm like, ugh, ugh.
Did it never occur to you to like compete at 83?
I've thought about it. There's a few people who are continuously pushing me to be 83. Like, oh, you're so good at 74 right now. Imagine you go 83, you'll put on 50 kilos on your total. And like, if I were able to put on 50 kilos on my total, I'm up there with some of the best 83s in Canada. It's around what Kafui hits, around what Nick Manners and Adam, around what they have. But I still think I have a lot to gain more in the 74s. Like we've seen what I'm able to do in the gym. Like I just got to be able to translate on the platform. And I genuinely think I could probably put up maybe like a 770 total at 74. I can't even think about 800 because that's like I think like Sean's like, oh, you could probably total 800 one day. I'm like, are you out of your mind? Are you stupid? I can't. There's no way. But I think with me and what just to sidetrack a bit regarding because I had a thought. I've seen because I've been around the sport for a very long time, and I'm the type of person that I'm not deluded in who I am or what I'm capable of. So I can't like I see a bunch of junior lifters like, oh yeah, I'm 19 right now. I'm going to total 900 as an 83 when I'm 25. Like, first of all, that's not how it works. It's not ever gonna how it works. But I've honestly seen that some people in this sport thrive off that sense of lack of a better term is delusion. Like that's what a lot of lifters have. They have this deluded thought that they're just going to be this amazing lifter. But for me, I think what's honestly contributed to my longevity in the sport and pushing off burnout is that I'm able to recognize that there are maybe certain totals and goals I won't be able to achieve, but that's not going to stop me from trying my hardest to achieve those goals. Like I could total 874. I probably won't, but I'm going to try my hardest to try and get there. Yeah. Like that's not going to stop. Like I was talking today with my friend. Like one thing that I have to remind myself in the gym, like every rep matters. When it comes to lifting, you can't skimp out, and you have to just give everything your all, even if you don't want to.
So basically, don't set unrealistic expectations and then cry when you don't meet them.
But maybe do a little.
Yeah, it's a balance because I think as athletes we have to set those unrealistic expectations sometimes because we have to have a goal to push towards. But it's a fine line between realizing you won't meet those unrealistic expectations, but that realization should not stop you from pushing as hard as you can.
100%. I remember when we first started training together. I think this was like 2021 or so, or like
Yeah, we first met. Can I mention where we met? Yeah.
I was
Luke?
when we were training together at Band of Barbell. That was still relatively new to the
That's not when we first met.
Where did we first meet?
In the Jed North warehouse.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, remember?
Some kind of like.
That was probably like 29. That was like probably 2020, I guess.
That was in 2020. It was during COVID.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yes, I don't know if you remember. I was like really skinny back then for my height. Well,
You did Nats as a 74, right?
I did it at 83, but I was a small 83. I was like 79.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, fine.
Yeah. So when we actually got to know each other better was I think 2021 or so, Band of Barbells, where we started training together. And I was still new-ish to the sport, so like I would always have these like really lofty expectations of myself, and you were always there to be like, "Hell no, you won't." I'm like, gotta prove Blake wrong.
Yeah, I still say that. I think I still say it to the day.
Yeah. Well, it's crazy too because I remember me and Kyle. Was our first time meeting was at that competition that we competed, or was it
2018 Centrals?
Yeah, and so now I've gone up weight class and Kyle's gone up 2, and Blake has been competing 4 times longer. Gone up.
Yeah.
So,
I remember. I think in 2017 or 2018 nationals, I competed with people who are now 3 weight classes above me now, or 2 weight classes above me.
Oh yeah, like Andrew Brown and Quinton. Like
Andrew, yeah, they I think they're both 93s or give it something like that. And I know Nick Manners is an 83, and he might go 93 eventually. And I competed. That's one thing I hate Nick for. He still holds the national deadlift record, and that really pisses me off. 315, 315. So
yeah, you could do it if you have a good day. You could do it.
Yeah, but I haven't had a good day yet.
If you do it, he might cut back down just so you can get that record again.
I'll kill him. I'll be so mad.
That would be crazy. But Blake, I think we should move it into this like prep right now that you're currently on, because I think when we post, like we're currently 6 or 7 weeks out, and when we post this, it'll be like
6 weeks out. Yeah,
it'll be 5 or 4.5.
Yeah.
Posted. So you have a lot of people that you have to go head to head with. Like Connor is one of them. By the time this drops, we'll know like, if Connor went hard at NAPF or not. Then there's Lonray. There's so many people. Like I don't know. Like I know.
Now we're gonna have Lonray listening to this.
Yeah,
this
he already has the sound bite from you earlier.
I'll give him another one. He won't beat me. I'll give him another. Yeah. How about that?
There's like.
Hey, let's put it in perspective. Lonray will need to squat. Let's say I PR my total by 5 kilos. I hit a 750 total, which is not an unreasonable thing to say. Given let's say we all have a good day, he would need to squat 300 plus 147.5 plus 305. He would to beat that. He would need to squat 300, 147.5, and 305 deadlift.
It's not crazy. Like I mean,
they're all PRs.
Yeah.
All of them are PRs, and the 300.
I think.
But he'll do well. I think this time is going to be finally. I've told you every other time, like Lonray's coming, but I do.
He's been saying that since 2019. I'm just like.
Yeah, I remember the 2019 battle I watched. Like, yeah, that was not a.
It was the chocolate versus Jew era. Yeah.
Who else is there now? There's Connor that you're going head to head with.
So I think my bigger, I'm not counting out Lonray, but on either of our best days, like if I have another Worlds performance, anyone can beat me because I only told 720. Lonray 100% could total north of 720. There's another guy, Jared. I forgot his last name. Jared, he told 720 at nationals. So he got second place to Connor. And there's obviously Connor Lutz, who's I think is the only one who could on an 8 for 9 Blake day, Connor's the only one who can beat me. I think both of us need to go 9 for 9, or whoever slips up first, it's over. Yeah.
Is Luke Comer not doing it?
No, Luke's doing equipped. I messaged him. I was very upset. I wanted him to do Rob. I think he's. Pardon?
He say like just has goals and equip like.
I don't know. Yeah, I think he just likes equip more, and I thought it'd be fun if he could come to Raw to battle it out, but he's not.
Yeah, that would have been a cool battle between like you, Connor, and Luke. But
That'd be awesome. That'd be so much fun.
yeah, squatting 750 equipped to 74 is pretty good.
Yeah, but yeah, so that would be cool, Blake. Like that, like so now you're feeling more healthy.
uh, eh, like, my left knee has problems. I'm getting some groin pain in my left groin now. My bench is so I'm feeling my body feels banged up, but the beginning block has been the strongest it's ever been. I hit a deadlift PR, first one in 2 years, and I hit a squat PR, first one in a very long time. And bench, because I'm just still coming off the pec injury, we still have to the programming still has to be somewhat cautious because we right after the injury we can't just go right back into benching 6 days a week like I've been doing for the past several years. We were at 3 days a week, now we're at 4 days a week. So I'd imagine the last 4 weeks of prep we pump it up back up to 5 to 6 days. So hopefully in the last bit of bench for prep for nationals, I'll have a good uptick in my performance.
So just for anyone like listening, like they're probably wondering, like Blake benches like 6 days a week. Have you done 7? I think you did, right?
There was a time I was doing 7 and it was going great. But the only reason I stopped is because I was in Miami at the time. I didn't have a car there and I was taking Ubers to the gym.
Shit.
And I'm like, and my 7th bench day, I think it was a Sunday or whatever it was. It was just, I was literally just going to go in, hit like 2 singles with like 315 or 330 or whatever it was, and then leave. No accessories, no nothing. I texted my coach like, hey, I'm not spending $35 on Ubers just to hit 2 singles and leave. He's like, okay, we can scrap it. So the reason, yeah. And it was fine, yeah.
Yeah, you performed and then you're like, oh shit, we don't need to bench every day.
Yeah.
That's funny. Yeah, I just figured like whoever's listening is probably like, damn, 5 to 6 days.
Yeah, I've been doing 6 days, at least 6, since 2021. I think so. And it's not like half-ass volume. It's like a lot of volume. I would get 3 singles a week at least, sets of 8 here and there, lots of accessories. And honestly, like right now when I'm on 4 days a week, because I have to keep my pec in mind, I'm getting more DOMs than I've ever gotten than I was on 6 days a week. Because when you're benching back to back to back to back, it just feels so natural and normal. Your chest doesn't get sore at all.
Yeah. I remember asking you back like in Band of Barbells days, and I was like, and you have pretty like high intensity exposures like every bench day too. Like you're benching definitely 140 plus. Like
Yeah.
I remember asking you don't get sore from bench. You're like, no, my pecs never get sore.
Yeah, because
Never
they had no chance. But now,
Yeah.
pecs are like, oh shit, like,
Yeah.
wait, ow. That's so good. So wait, before we move on, they both have, I think, some questions for you, like they've written down. But I wanted to ask you for another little audio clip here. What's the podium going to look like for 74 nationals?
Me in first, Connor in second, and likely, okay, the smart person would be, say, Lonray third. However, I know how Lonray is, and he's going to try and chase me. And that's what he did at, I think it was Westerns or whatever it was. He tried to, even though he missed his second squat, he still went up like another 15 kilos or 10 kilo jump and then failed again. So I think he's going to I think he's smart to like put in those attempts and chase me. But I think he's going to overreach. And then Jarrett's going to come in and just edge him out for third place.
Yeah, that makes sense. I think, Lonray's either going to win or come probably not on the podium.
Yeah.
That's what he did in 2020 nationals. Like I think you were hurt. We were still juniors.
Yeah, yeah.
He was competing open, and it was like Ben
I
Lang,
remember watching that. Yeah,
and then Lonray just loads like he jumps
it
like
was 3. It was 3:15. I remember. Yeah,
30 keys or something into his third, and he was like smiling as he walks out. I'm like, what does this guy know? But
I think he got it off the floor. I think I remember that.
He got up to his just under his knees.
yeah.
But it's also conventional, and that's the last part's the hardest part.
Yeah, but okay. So I think you guys have some questions, right? Like little things.
So we're getting into frequency there. I know you just finished your second year of law school.
Yes, correct.
So with that crazy schedule, I know what it's like because my wife went through that process. How do you manage like such a high frequency training and doing law school at the same time?
So I think I pride myself on being very regimented. Um, I basically eat the same thing every day at the same time. Not because I try to. That's just the way it happens to work out because I've just grown into this routine that I'm very comfortable with. And I'm sure you know, as your wife has, how much reading is in law school. It's anyone who's listening to this or thinking of going to law school, don't. It sucks. Don't go to law school. It's hard. Um, if you think you can do it, try it. The LSAT, studying for it, sucked. Law school is very high stress. It's super high stress, not only because there's so much to do, but it's also very competitive. Because in my school, there's like 400 people in class, which is a little big school, and we're all competing each other and to go against the curve. Um, and then the hardest part is just the balancing and getting in enough time for reading. So the way I've done it over the past 2 years is I don't really drink, I don't party, blah blah. People like to go out on Thursdays and Fridays, hang out. I don't really do that. So I've past 2 years, I use my Fridays, Saturdays, and Sundays to read. So I would go in, take my ADHD meds at like 11 a.m. or whatever, and sit down and read for like 5 to 7 hours a day, and get all my reading done for the week. So I don't have to read during the week. Yeah. So other people, when they're done class at whether let's say their schedule ends at 5 o'clock or 3 o'clock, they're going to the library to read. I'm going to the gym. And so while they're out like enjoying the weekend, I'm in the library reading, just making sure I can get as much reading as I'm done, just so I'm not bogged down with the pressure of having to like catch up and read during the week. So I can just train during the week.
Yeah, I know when Paige was in school, like it was a good 40 hours a week, literally of just reading, pretty much.
Yeah, it's especially like constitutional law in first year. It was maybe 160 pages a week.
Yeah,
and like at times you're just like, okay, I'm not reading all the shit. I'm just gonna skim it and then Google the rest.
Yeah, I couldn't imagine too in New York because she went to Dalhousie, which is in Halifax. And everybody out east is so chill and relaxed. And she always talked about like how cutthroat it is. I couldn't imagine how people are in friggin' New York.
Yeah, it's rough.
Yeah.
Do you feel like having that kind of regimented schedule has almost helped you in a way though? Because obviously, so Centrals is like by far your best total ever, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like obviously I know it's definitely hard to manage, but obviously you've managed it. So do you think like having this schedule has almost helped you?
I don't know about helped me. I think it helps me more or less keep my nutrition intact. That's for sure, because I have found that that when I have more free time, I tend to go off my nutrition a bit. Which it sounds like the opposite. Like, oh, people like when they have more free time, they're gonna lock in and be better. Like, no, when I have like more free time, I'm snacking, and which is not good. And yeah.
Do you find the stress from school affect your training at all, like going into exams and stuff?
Only during exam times, I would say. Exam times are very high stress. It's people who aren't familiar with exams during law school. There is usually a 2 week period at the end of the semester But it's not only the process for studying those exams is what we do is we call outlining. So usually you would outline, you would start, let's say you're taking evidence. That's the first course that comes to my head, taking evidence. And you're going through the teacher's outline one by one, taking notes on the relevant rules for each class. And you kind of have to like build this anywhere from 10 to 40 page outline and like not more or less memorize it because a lot of the exams are closed book. And so I would start that process. People usually start that process 3 weeks out or a month out. I start that a month and a half out. I start outlining pretty early. And everything okay?
We're just plugging in the laptop.
Yeah, keep going.
Oh, okay, so sorry. And yeah, and so I start that process a month and a half out. And so during the time when it gets to crunch time for exams, I know my nutrition coach, fam, he was like, okay, it's exam times. Do your best to get your nutrition in. And it's extremely high stress. I don't think in the past we've ever taken the stress of exams into consideration. Like we had to like reduce volume because I don't think it really affects me that much. But it affects me mentally, that's for sure. But I don't think it affects me as much physically.
What about like sleeping? Like, what's your sleeping hours like usually, and does it change like during exams? Because that's like for me, obviously food is super important, but sleeping, maybe it's just mental too. If I don't get a good sleep, I'm like, nah, it's over.
I think for me, I'm very lucky. I've always been very good with my sleep. Ever since undergrad, I've always gone at least 7.5 hours a night. Even at exam times, I'm getting 8 hours a night. So I think I'm just good with being able to just go to bed at 12 a.m. and then waking up at 8 a.m. or 8:30 or whatever it may be.
You're just locked in.
Yeah, I'm just like, okay, bedtime.
I think you're pretty good at sleeping despite like looking at 10,000 memes a night.
I know.
Yeah, have you like if anyone actually already
He does it
follows
in his
Blake?
sleep.
Yeah, yeah, finds the best memes because
My algorithm is messed up, and I did it for everyone else.
it's just easy. Or you just open your phone, they give you like fucked up memes, and you send.
Yeah, literally, that's all it is.
That's crazy.
It's because you get charged up on the ADHD meds. You say you spend 6 hours reading. It's really memeing.
Yeah, honestly, yeah. I'll read 10 pages and take a scroll break. Read 10 pages and take a scroll break. Yeah.
Scrolling in the other eye. But
Yeah.
They have like the two splits.
Yeah.
Okay, what is the next question?
I guess the next one was this is funny. So who's your favorite lifter? You can do one like kind of in the past and then the present. So say like pre-2020 area, and then now like who's your favorite lifter? And it can't be Sean.
Can't be Sean Noriega.
Shit.
It's like,
Okay. It's not Sean, but I think I would cry if Sean wins TA Nats or Worlds or whatever. I would lose my shit if he won.
Yeah.
But so he's the one I'm rooting for the most because like I've been with him for like 7-8 years. He's the lifter I'm rooting. I want like the most to win, like as a friend and because he's my coach. But so pre 2020, I would say Josh Hancock and Connor Lutz because those two were the king of the 74s in Canada for the longest time. I remember the funniest thing. I remember so between high school and undergrad, I took a gap year. I went to Israel for a year, and I remember I didn't have like a phone plan at the time. I didn't have data, and I knew like sometimes when I would get a notification on my computer that Josh Hancock has posted a video via like YouTube notifications. I would get up, it would be like 11 p.m. And I would get up, I would run across the street to the pizza place to use their Wi-Fi. use my phone to download the video physically to like an external app on my phone, and then run back to my room to watch it in bed. Josh Hancock's video. I remember that. Yeah. So I think before he was the king in 74s, and I loved his videos. I looked up to him, and I remember the first time when I totaled more than him. I'm like, holy shit, I'm better than him. Like, it was crazy. It was crazy. And the same thing happened with Carlettes. Like I mentioned before, when I first started powerlifting, like I started powerlifting style training in 2013. I did my first meet in 2014. And in 2013, I was running like Candido 6 week 7 times in a row. I would just run his like over and over and over and again. And then I did like a Bryce Lewis TSA intermediate program they had back then. And then I ran a Connor Lutz beginner and intermediate program. And I think Connor and we started like messaging here and there back then. And I'm like, oh my God, you're amazing. You're so strong. Oh. And then I beat him. And then I beat him like in 2022. I'm like, holy shit, I'm better than him again. So I've had the chance to beat 2 people I looked up to in the sport in my weight class, which is very cool.
Burke is next, eh?
Oh, no.
Some little 74 guys running to pizza shops to download Blake Barrett videos. They're now destined to one day. So those are your past ones. So Josh Hancock, do you have any like current era favorite lifters?
Himself.
Me. Honestly, there isn't really any lifters I enjoy watching because I don't really care that much, except for Kyle, Luke, and Trevor, and Eric Willis.
There.
Yeah, Eric Willis, my answer. There's not really one I like. Oh, they post the video. I'm like, oh, I have to see it. I don't really like have anyone like that. But I think the one person I have somewhat been looking at his training for a while now is Joe Bornstein. And I'm sure we all know what he just put up at the SPD Raleigh. But I remember Joe like in 2021, 2022 when we first started talking, and he was like a 74 totaling low 700s. And now he told 874. And now he told 865 at 83. And so I enjoy watching his lifting. He's insane.
Yeah.
And he's a super nice guy.
Doesn't that inspire you to go 83? That could happen to you.
No, I can't be that good. No, it's scary.
Yeah, he's crazy. What he did.
Yeah.
That was his second meet, and he was hurt. He was like badly hurt 10 weeks ago. Like.
Yeah, man, I watched that one where he hurt his back on his squat.
Yeah. So,
it's his bench that's like baffling because he doesn't look like he's jacked for sure, but he's not like someone that's like stocky and like looks like he's built.
Yeah.
He just benches 210.
Yeah.
I think I was having this conversation in the gym the other day. I think people are sleeping on his deadlift. I don't think you guys understand how big a 360 pull is.
No, it's huge.
Like, it's crazy.
but at Worlds, if he benched 210, he would have outbenched all of them by like 25 kilos.
Want to know a fun fact? The 74s outbenched 83s at Worlds.
That's what I said.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's the 174 bench 210, right? Like, isn't it your teammate?
Yeah, Funge. He benched 213, and then Eddie benched 212 and a half, and then Shell benched like 205 or something. Yeah.
Yeah, see.
I think the gold medal in the 83s was like 187.
Yeah, it was.
I was there 190 or something.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Burns benched 185, and that was like one of the biggest benches.
Yeah.
185 is still a lot, but it's not like for like a world.
Yeah.
It is kind of insane, but I guess like Delaney and Joe and all them kind of like bench up in there. They just didn't happen to.
It just seems crazy because when you look at him, like I've met Joe like maybe twice now. I met him in like 2022 when he was battling like Pug and all those guys. So that's what I think.
Yeah.
But so he's probably like Kyle's height, maybe like 5'10", or at least he seems like he is. I don't know. Have you met him?
Yeah, several times. He's a couple inches taller than me. Like I would say 5'8" or so.
Maybe I'm just 5'5".
Yeah, I think I'm taller than you. So
No, no, but yeah, he is quite tall, and he doesn't look too like he's jacked.
Yeah,
like 210 bench is just so mad. Like,
it's crazy. Yeah. I'm saying it. Once the IPF gets rid of the bench depth rule, I'm benching 190. It's over. It's over for everyone.
They're gonna get rid of it, you think?
No, I wish they would. Because it's stupid.
Once they do. So.
Remember the little talk we just had about unrealistic expectations?
Yeah.
I can dream.
Okay, I think our last question here, we've already touched on it a little bit, but let's go a little bit deeper because I think this will be helpful to a lot of people. But coming back from like tearing your groin a second time, like what you want to go into a little bit of like your mindset, how you kept positive, like going into prep. And you talked about obviously like kind of the fear of overcoming like deadlifting again. Do you want to go like a bit more in depth with that?
Also, Blake, before you go in, I think talk to, because you're gonna say that like you weren't as worried. You said at the beginning, you said like, oh, I was feeling happy actually. So maybe talk to about the first time and how you felt mentally, like how defeated.
Yeah. So when I say the word happy, I should have elaborated on that, which I will in a second. So when I first tore it in 2020 in my prep for nationals, it wasn't the one in 2023. It wasn't like a rupture or anything, or like a very very bad strain. Um, it was a sports hernia type of injury. It was like I'm not sure how PTs or doctors they diagnose sports hernia, but it's injury to the area in and around the groin, the adductor, and that area. Um, and I remember crying. I was devastated because I was in my prep for nationals. I was in excruciating pain. Like I remember I pushed it hard one day, and my groin literally felt like it was tearing off the bone. And I didn't think I tore it off the bone, but that's what it felt like. And I came to peace with the fact pretty quickly that, okay, I won't be competitive in Nats. I won't do anything good. So I showed up to Nats in 2020. I had fun. Like, I pulled conventional, I benched the PR, and I like high bar squat like 120 kilos, like something stupid. And, but after that is when COVID hit, and I went back home to Toronto. And I'm sure lots of people have seen, or if you haven't seen, go scroll back and look at the setup I was lifting on during COVID. And I almost died in my basement, maybe 6 or 7 times. Like actually, like I almost died.
I was gonna say,
and
it's not bench quarterly, so then we'll see it at some point.
Yeah, you'll see me dropping 330 pounds on my neck. Yeah, yeah. And and I remember it was my first real injury that could have taken me out of powerlifting, and I had to go through that alone by myself in my basement with like I had emotional support from my parents, but I didn't have the community and the camaraderie that I've grown to know throughout powerlifting throughout my tenure. And I can honestly say that's the only time I've actually thought about quitting powerlifting. It was during those first couple months of lifting in my basement. But I can tell you exactly what kept me from quitting powerlifting. I'm sure a lot of people could relate to this. It's finding solace in the small things, and what I mean by that is, let's say, so for example, during my rehab process for my first groin tear, a large part of the process is finding something you can do relatively pain-free. And for me, that was Zerchers. So I remember I pushed Zerchers hard. And I remember I couldn't do the bar Zercher. I remember then the next week, I could do a plate. And then a month and a half later, I was doing 225. And then a month and a half later after that, I was doing like 315 Zerchers for sets of 5 or whatever. I got my Zerchers very strong. I think I Zerchered like 365 or something. Pretty, not bad. And it's finding and it's gaining momentum through those little things that keep you looking forward to the next session. Like, okay, this session was a 2 out of 10 pain. The last session, or 2 sessions ago, or even 5 sessions ago, this was a 7 out of 10 pain. That's something you could actually objectively assess within yourself, like, okay, I'm getting better. And I remember another big marker point is being able to do like a adductor side plank or a Copenhagen, however you want to call it. I was able to do it for 20 seconds and not 10 seconds. I remember texting my coach. I'm like, I did it for 20 seconds. Like, oh, let's go. I was so excited. I was so happy. And then it's just turning off your brain and then doing that over and over and over. And so when I tore my groin the second time, the reason I say I was happy is because I was familiar with it. I knew what I needed to be done. It wasn't an unfamiliar thing. It wasn't really scary because I've done it before. I know what to do. And it was just starting from square one again. And it was just getting back in the gym, finding what I can do that was relatively pain-free. And at that time, it was heel elevated Hatfields with an SSB bar. And I pushed those so hard. I think after my groin healed up, I Hatfield squatted 250 kilos for 10 on the SSB. So I pushed those really hard. And the same principle applied. It was, okay, this week is an 8 out of 10 pain. Like I almost went home. Next week, it's a 5 out of 10 pain. And then maybe it stays at there for 3 weeks at a 5 out of 10 pain. But then one day it will be, okay, it's a 3 out of 10 pain. And then that pain will shift to discomfort. And then that's when you know you're on the right track. But that's not to say that you're not going to have setbacks. A lot of the time during the second rehab process, it was 1 week, it was pain-free but not discomfort-free. And the next week, it was pain. And then it was almost like, oh, fuck, starting from square one again. But then you just got to do it all over again. You just got to keep on going until you're better. And that may take 2 months, 3 months. And if my incidents both times took 6 or 7 months, both times. So
it was more so you weren't happy when it happened the second time, but you're confident.
No. Yeah.
Yeah.
I was happy because it was not. I wasn't scared. Yeah.
It also happened in different ways. Like I guess the first groin was like an incident in prep, like leading into nationals, and then the second one was like you were legit on the platform.
Yeah, we all seen the video of me screaming fuck.
I remember that happening live. There was a big screen in the back. I was also competing, and it was your second attempt, and I was about to go up for the second attempt deadlift. And I look at the screen, and you're lying there on the floor. And I was like, "Holy shit, what is happening?"
And you know what's funny? I think because of me, every CPU stream is on a 20-second delay now.
Oh really?
Yeah, because I remember at Centrals, it was on a delay. Yeah. So they made that because of me. Because I don't
shut it down quick.
Yeah, exactly. That's literally what they do.
Okay. Yeah. Is it maybe just when you're competing? You think?
Yeah, probably.
When you're competing, they put on the 20-second.
Maybe. Just so when I go up, they could just turn it off.
Yeah. And then I remember like you coming into the back, and obviously at this point, like you were in shock and stuff like that. I think there was I don't know if it was a physiotherapist or something doing some kind of.
Christina, she's great.
Yeah, she's doing some kind of like manual, I don't know, like adjustment, or like I guess just checking to see what was happening.
Yeah, we at the time, I don't know if anyone. So the way it was explained to me, and I could be wrong, is that the way strains are graded. There's grade 1, grade 2, and grade 3. Grade 1 is like your run-of-the-mill strain. It hurts a little bit. Grade 2 is a large spectrum. Grade 2 could like range from like a pretty bad strain to an almost full rupture. And grade 3 is a full-on rupture. Your shit's off the bone, and you're essentially screwed. Like it's blue and purple. Things.
I think there's grade tears, but or muscle strain you're talking about.
Yeah.
You actually like tore your groin. Like you can see like when you're doing side planks and stuff now, you got a full on like gap.
I have a hole there. Yeah. So it wasn't a full on rupture, but something torn there.
Yeah.
Like something. I don't know what it was. And I remember saying this. I was lying on the platform in pain because it felt like my groin was cramping up. Like it was like a 9 out of 10 pain, 10 out of 10 being passing out. Like I think I almost passed out. How painful it was. And I remember saying, "Get me off the platform. Everyone else needs to lift." That was. I remember saying that. That was kind of funny. Yeah.
I think because we were waiting for our seconds, I'm pretty sure I was like about to go out. And then once you were like, I guess that's what happened is you said that. And then they told me to go out and I was like looking over there. And then you get up and everyone's cheering. So I was like this. Like, I'm pretty sure. All right, now I'm going to go almost fail my second. But yeah, no, that is pretty good of you because I can't imagine the pain that you were feeling.
Oh, it sucked.
Did you know right away, like it was torn, sort of thing?
No, because what I felt was just a really, really bad crack that did not subside for hours. Like I was just sitting there, and it was just my groin was just seizing up, and it was excruciating, like someone like stabbing it. It was excruciatingly painful.
But you knew right away, like I guess you were in shock like immediately, but like after that, like you said, you felt confident that you knew like what to do. You're in good hands.
Yeah. So, I was in good spirits afterwards. I went to the banquet. I was laughing around, joking, and everyone. And I went home. I saw my PT guy here in New York, and I knew what the process was going to be. Like I knew I didn't need surgery because it was there. Like it wasn't like black and blue in there in the area. Nothing was detached. So I knew the process was just going to be round two all over again, and I knew I could do it because I've done it before.
Gets super strong at some like random movement.
Oh, what was my movement? I was Zerchers. Yeah, no, not sorry. Sorry, Hatfields.
Hatfields.
I got so strong.
What is
Yeah,
happening?
I got.
You did like 550 for 8 or something, right?
I did. 250 kilos for 10.
Oh my god,
Yeah.
that's crazy.
Yeah.
Okay, wait. Maybe like a few more questions here.
Sure. Yeah.
How did you not have Dairy Queen this entire time? How old are you, Blake?
The fuck is wrong?
How old when I first had Dairy Queen? What was it? 6 months ago.
Yeah,
It's ridiculous.
How old are you?
I'm almost 27. I'm 26.
27 fucking years on this earth, and you haven't had.
Yeah, no, Dirk, I know. I think honestly, you'd be surprised at how much little like I've had. I've never had like KFC. I've never had Popeyes.
Popeyes is good. KFC.
Oh yeah. I've never been to like you guys know Swiss Chalet in Canada. Like I've never had that. Because I grew up Jewish, grew up fairly religious. So I never really had the opportunity in my younger years to like eat all that food growing up, and only when I became less religious over time, um, when I started eating like non-kosher food, that's when I kind of started like delving out into like all that stuff. And let me just say, McDonald's fucking sucks.
Yeah.
McDonald's is the worst.
When did you have McDonald's for the first time? Okay, now I know why this guy's been 74.
I was thinking,
I think I was around 20 years old.
Oh damn! Oh wow!
Yeah.
The hype up until then, like I understand why you really don't like it. Like you've seen people having
You
it.
know, I remember back in the day when a McDouble cost like $1.50, and I would get like 4 of them shits.
Yeah, that's. I like.
Now they're like $4 a piece. I'm like, what do you do? What's going on now?
No, it's even more. It's worse. It's bad.
That's crazy.
so we asked Eric a very similar question, but how many Blakes would it take to take down one Eric Willis?
Fight to the death. No weapon.
Well, I don't want to know. I don't want to know what he says. I would say, like, take down as in like beat the shit out of him.
Oh, you have to kill him with your bare hands.
I have to kill him with my bare hands.
Yeah.
3,
That's it.
3 or 4.
Dude,
Yeah.
what about 3? What are like? Yeah, there's a chance you can lose. So
Like
who are
no
you really
weapons,
confident
bare
in?
hands.
Yeah. Okay. 4.
I feel like.
4.
Do you think there's a chance that the 4 of you could lose, or like 4 is like he's
Nah, 4. He's done.
done?
He's chopped.
I like the confidence.
Yeah.
Do you want to do our
Yeah.
half married killer?
Yeah. So Blake, out of the 3 lifts, you had to fuck 1, marry 1, kill 1. Squat, bench, deadlift.
I would say Mary deadlift, fuck squat, and kill bench.
Oh wow.
I think that's
Yeah.
actually maybe it's inverse, but everyone kills bench.
Yeah.
Yeah, bench sucks. The worst.
Or maybe Eric too, I guess.
Did we ask him?
Yeah, I think
Oh,
we
what did he
did.
say?
I think he said
Okay.
kills.
I think it surprises me though. Like I
That
think
makes sense.
because you have a really solid bench, but I guess you just don't enjoy it as much as squatting.
Well, he's done it.
Honestly, I think I would enjoy bench more if I can actually push not bench depth. Because I'm fully convinced if I could soft touch and train soft touch and not have to hit depth, I would be benching like 185 easily. Because I benched 180 soft touch like 2 years ago, a year and a half ago.
Well, also you'd probably like bench more if you didn't do it for like 7 days a week for many months. You know. in the
I
past.
would also hate bench if I had to bench 300 times a year.
Yeah.
No, I like bench. Just out of the two, I'm always been a deadlifter. But recently, my squad has over the past 2 years, my squad has really garnered momentum.
All right, Lonray, you heard that here. Squat battle.
Oh, I'm squatting 295. Lock it in. Easy peasy. I'm loading it.
Might as well open with it if you're that confident.
Exactly. Three cracks in it.
All right, man. Well, we'll end off the podcast here. Is there anything else you want to say to the listeners or to the boys on the podcast?
No, thank you so much for having me on. Shout out to my coach, Sean Arriga, my nutritionist, Famished, my sponsors, 110% in SPD. And thank you for having me on.
Of course, man. You're like a pro.
Thanks,
I'll be back
buddy.
on at some point as well.
Well,
Please, no. Haven't you heard? We're replacing you with me.
Oh yeah, okay. Maybe hopefully I'll.
It's actually Kyle.
Yeah, like the next guest for episode 8 is Kyle.
Reverse podcast.
Blake, what's your Instagram handle?
At powerlifting Barrett, and it's been like that for 11 years.
All right, guys, go give him a follow. You can watch a lot of good memes and some lifting.
And some lifting.
Yeah. So thank you guys for listening. Leave a rating down below and let us know if Blake should ever come back on the podcast. All right, buddy.
Thanks, guys.
Blake, you can stay if you want to.
I was gonna stay and talk. Yeah.
Oh fuck.